now, boy.
I don't understand.
Don't take it personal.
Willard!
The story kicks off in 1880s Wyoming with this 13-year-old kid named Lucas Hollister. Lucas is left fending for himself after both his parents kick the bucket. Even though he's just a squirt and ain't exactly big, he's gotta take on every single job to keep the place running. He spends his whole day and night busting his hump to make sure his family survives. Lucas ain't alone in that house, cause he's gotta look out for his kid brother, Jacob. He's doing the cooking, cleaning the joint, and messing with the cattle just to keep their small-time farm from folding. During all this, Lucas is trying to toughen himself up to handle the load. But deep down, he's still just a kid and he's wishing for a miracle or for some grown-up to step in and take over. Even with all that weight on his shoulders, Lucas never lets his little brother see that he's falling apart inside. He's 100% focused on giving Jacob a better shake by teaching him and keeping him fed. As the weather starts turning, Lucas figures out that winter is right around the corner and they're running real low on eats.
Lucas, look!
To fix the situation, he decides to take a pig he's been raising forever into the city to sell it off. When he gets to the city, Lucas runs into a shopkeeper who sees right away that he's just a kid by himself. The guy tries to play him for a chump and offers him only half of what the pig is actually worth. Lucas knows he's getting screwed, but he can't walk away from the deal cause he's desperate for grocery money. He takes the lousy pay and heads over to a grocery store to grab the basics.
Even dollar for the beans, $3.50 for the meal and the flour.
The guy at the grocery store is a much better fella than the last guy. After seeing Lucas, the man gives him a break on the price and barely charges him anything for the stuff. When the guy finds out Lucas has a kid brother at home, he even tosses him a piece of candy for Jacob. Lucas finishes packing the bags into his cart and gets ready to head back to the sticks.
Heard his mama was nothing but a dried up old fall crazy from syphilis.
All of a sudden, Lucas hears his little brother crying nearby. He grabs a stick and runs over to see what the hell is going on. He finds these two local punks beating on Jacob. Lucas jumps in and starts wailing on both of them with his stick until they finally beat it. Jacob tells Lucas the kids were trying to swipe the candy the shopkeeper just gave him. Lucas calms his brother down and they start the trek back to their place together.
Lucas, someone's coming.
A little while later, Lucas sees a guy on a horse hauling tail toward their property. Since he's learned not to trust nobody, Lucas is on edge and figures people are just trying to pull one over on him cause he's an orphan. Lucas bolts inside and grabs his old man's rifle. He heads back out to face the music and sees two guys on horses. One of the riders is the punk Lucas hit with the stick in town, and the other guy is the kid's old man, a local rancher. The father is steaming mad and says Lucas broke his kid's hand during the scrap earlier. The rancher gives Lucas two ways to settle the score. Option 1 is Lucas pays up some cash to cover the injury. Option 2 is the rancher goes to the sheriff and gets Lucas tossed in the slammer. The guy tells Lucas he'll be back tomorrow for his answer and then he takes off. Lucas is in a total panic watching the guy ride away. He ain't personally scared of jail, but he's terrified of what's gonna happen to Jacob if he gets hauled away. That night, Jacob asks his big brother where they're gonna get the scratch to pay the guy. Lucas tries to play it cool and says he'll handle it. But then he goes outside and has a good cry cause he knows they ain't got a dime. The next morning, Lucas is sitting outside when he spots a wolf hanging around. He's seen this wolf a bunch of times and starts worrying about his brother's safety. He figures if he goes to the big house, that wolf is eventually gonna snatch Jacob while he's home alone. Deciding to take care of business, Lucas grabs his piece and starts trailing the animal. Lucas chases that wolf for a good half hour until he's huffing and puffing. Finally, the wolf stops, and Lucas takes aim with the rifle. He lets a shot fly, but at that exact second, a guy pops up right in the way. Instead of hitting the wolf, the bullet nails the rancher who was threatening Lucas earlier. The guy drops dead right then and there in front of the kid. As soon as the law finds out about the shooting, Lucas is hauled in and dragged in front of a judge. The judge listens to the talk, while Lucas keeps trying to tell him that the rancher's death was a total accident. But the judge ain't buying what he's selling and points to the reports of Lucas being a tough guy in the market. The judge decides Lucas is a loose cannon and sentences the 13-year-old to hang. He says the execution is going down in 5 days, claiming that the only way to pay for a death is with another death. This news absolutely levels Lucas, cause he knows nobody's gonna be left to watch over his little brother. Lucas gets tossed into a cell to wait for his time. While he's sitting there, this woman shows up and tries to talk some sense into the judge and the jury. She tells him Lucas is just a kid and shouldn't be swinging, but the law guys won't move an inch. The woman finally goes to see Lucas in his cell and tells him she's his aunt. She explains she did everything she could to help, but the law wouldn't budge. Lucas begs her to at least look out for Jacob when he's gone, but his aunt says she's too old and can barely look after herself.
What will happen to my brother?
Arrangements will have to be made.
Can you take him?
Certainly not. I'm an old woman, Lucas.
Why'd you come then?
To see for myself.
After his aunt takes off, Lucas loses all hope. But in the dead of night, some mystery man sneaks into the prison without making a sound. The stranger uses his gun to take out anyone in his way while he heads for the cells. The guy eventually gets to Lucas, who's shaking in his boots after seeing all that violence. The stranger tells Lucas to come on, but the kid is too spooked to move. To get things moving, the guy knocks Lucas out cold and carries him out of the joint. The man throws Lucas on a horse and rides through the night to get out of Dodge. When Lucas finally comes to the next morning, he's all mixed up and wants to know why he was swiped from the jail. He says he didn't want to be a fugitive, but the guy doesn't say a word and just hands him some water. Lucas keeps complaining that he's got to get home because his little brother is by himself. The guy finally opens his trap, telling Lucas he's a fugitive now and can't ever go back to his old life. He tells him the law is never gonna let him just go back to raising his brother after breaking out of jail. Lucas gets steamed and says he never asked to be saved, but the guy points out that at least the kid is still breathing. Lucas finally figures out that staying alive is the only way he's ever gonna see Jacob again. The two of them keep moving, though Lucas keeps pestering the stranger to find out who he is. Later on, when the guy is a little ways off, Lucas sees the stranger's gun sitting by the horse. He grabs the heater real quick and points it at the man, demanding to know who he is and why he saved him. The man keeps his cool and tells him his name is Harlan Rust and he's actually Lucas's grandfather. Lucas is floored and won't believe it, saying his mother always said his grandpa was long gone. Harlan quickly takes the gun back and warns the kid to never point a piece at him again, saying he'd kill his own grandson if he had to. After that tense moment, Lucas settles down and decides to stick with Harlan for now.
Let's go then. Coming out of the briar patch. You look close. Hold this. Ain't the kind of thing a man should dwell on. We skin this, and then throw him on the fire.
The next morning, Lucas wakes up early while Harlan is still catching some Z's and tries to bolt. He runs for a long time until he hits a river, but Harlan eventually tracks him down. Harlan tells the kid he's an orphan who's gonna get lost, starve, or die of thirst out in the middle of nowhere. Harlan explains that every cop in the territory is looking for Lucas and he'll be recognized and hanged if he hangs around. He gives Lucas a choice: stick with him to stay alive or face the music alone. Lucas realizes he's got no other move and starts trailing his grandpa while they wander around for a few days. Eventually, the two of them run into a couple of hunters who seem like decent fellas. The hunters offer him some grub and hot tea and tell him they can crash at their camp for the night. While Lucas is out back, he spots two horses, and one of them has a leather bag. Hoping to find some snacks, Lucas digs into the bag and finds some cookies, but he also finds a wanted poster in there with pictures of him and Harlan. The poster says there's a $1,000 reward for bringing him in. Before Lucas can do anything, one of the hunters put a pistol to his head and demands the reward money. Harlan moves fast, putting a knife to the guy's throat and telling him to drop the piece. A shootout kicks off, and Harlan takes out both hunters to keep his grandson safe. Lucas is totally rattled after seeing guys die that close for the first time. He tells Harlan he doesn't want a life of running and killing, he just wants some peace and quiet. Harlan tells him he's gotta suck it up cause his life ain't normal no more after what he did.
I don't want to do this anymore.
God damn it, stop it!
I can't.
Lucas, you ain't a boy no more! And crying don't make it no different. Just gonna make you weak to it.
After he calms down, Lucas keeps following Harlan until they hit a small town. Lucas wants to send a letter he wrote for his little brother, but Harlan shuts that down. Harlan explains that sending a letter is like leaving a trail for hundreds of guys to follow him for that $1,000 bounty. Harlan takes the letter and goes to get some groceries while Lucas walks around the town. Lucas sees a crowd gathering and watches some criminal get hanged for his crimes. Seeing that execution makes Lucas shake like a leaf cause he sees himself up on that gallows. When Harlan gets back with the bags and a new dog, Lucas starts showing him a lot more respect. He realizes Harland is the only thing keeping him breathing and finally accepts him as his grandpa. Lucas asks Harland to teach him how to survive so he can look after himself later on. Harland is glad to see the kid coming around, since he's been a lone wolf most of his life. He starts feeling like he's got a family again and smiles watching Lucas mess around with the dog. That night, Harland tells Lucas his whole life story and how he ended up on the run.
Got a long day's ride ahead of us tomorrow. Keep up a good tilt, we'll make New Mexico by nightfall.
What happened to you?
How do you mean?
Why are you so full of hate?
You know where I'm from?
Wyoming?
I'm from Chicago.
No.
Yeah.
Harland tells Lucas that when he was a young buck, he had a good family and a happy life. But things went south when he took a loan from the bank. When the bank came to take his house and land, Harland got so worked up he killed the bank manager and burned the whole place to the ground. Since that day, Harland's been a fugitive, changing his name so everyone thought he was pushing up daisies. Only a handful of people, like Lucas's aunt, knew he was still kicking. The aunt eventually sent Harland a letter saying his grandson was about to hang, which got him to pick up his piece again.
Must get lonely.
Some things in this life you can't get back, I reckon.
Lucas listens close and starts to get his grandpa's pain. Having raised his brother by himself after their parents died, Lucas knows what it's like to be small and have nobody helping you out.
We best get a drag on.
He used to go on and on about this rifle. It's ruined the life of almost anyone it's ever come across.
The two of them keep moving the next day and find a house in the middle of a meadow. As they get close to the house, a woman comes out with a gun. Lucas sees the woman has a little kid about the same age as Jacob. This reminder of his family gets Lucas all choked up, and he decides to give his dog to the little kid before he takes off with Harland.
You look after him, all right?
Frank Bascom.
What the hell? Fella from the telegraph office brought it over.
All right, then.
Not long after, Lucas starts getting sick with a nasty fever. Harland finds a makeshift shelter and spends a few days playing nurse to get the kid back on his feet. Once Lucas is feeling better, he heads down to a river to get some water for the camp.
That's a fine pup you got there, little man.
His name's Albert.
How long you had him?
Boy and his grandpa come by.
Why ain't that a treat? Boy and his grandpa, you say?
Samuel, who you talking to?
Afternoon, ma'am.
You from the bank?
Oh, no, ma'am. I'm a bounty hunter by trade.
You hungry?
The old man, 1K.
Who?
The old man that came by 2 days ago. And a young boy traveling alongside him.
We ain't seen no one like that.
Samuel told me a boy and his grandpa.
When Lucas gets back with the water, he sees a bunch of guys have surrounded their spot. The men are yelling for Harland, and Harland starts blasting from inside the building. Lucas doesn't know what to do to help while the lead starts flying. Harland eventually screams for Lucas to beat it, but while they're trying to make a break for it, Harland gets winged. They manage to shake the bounty hunters and get some breathing room, but Harland is in bad shape. He hides the wound from Lucas so the kid doesn't flip out.
I just want to rest here for a minute. Don't fret none. It's all right. We're gonna be all right.
Things are looking grim because they left all their gear, food, and medicine back at the shelter.
You turn around and go back the way you come, preacher.
The old man do that to you?
Ain't talked out in no sheep's wool, neither.
I said get, goddammit. Sod paw and mood you.
Which way?
Headed over Dawes Pass.
God bless.
The next morning, while Harland is out, Lucas takes the gun to go hunt a rabbit. While he's out, he gets surrounded by Native American. Lucas tries to tell him he's just a kid looking for food, but they don't speak the same language. Harland wakes up and gets ready to shoot if they touch his grandson. But Lucas stays cool and uses hand signals to talk. Lucas puts his pricey gun on the ground and points to one of their horses, showing he wants to make a trade. The Native Americans see the gun is worth something and go for the deal, giving Lucas a horse. Harland is impressed with Lucas's smarts and how he's learning to survive. Harland is real happy to see that Lucas has gotten sharp and knows how to take care of himself out here. The two of them hop on their horses and head for a nearby town. When they get there, Lucas sends Harland to find a place to lay low while he goes to the pharmacy to get some meds for his grandpa. But the people at the shelter recognize Harland as a wanted man. A local sheriff also spots Harland and tries to bring him in. At the same time, a bunch of bounty hunters show up and crash the party. They say since they got there first and there's a $1,000 price on Harlan's head, they're the ones who should kill him and get the cash. The sheriff says he's the law and nobody's above it.
The bounty's mine.
A messy shootout starts between the sheriff's crew and the bounty hunters. Harlan uses the chaos to slip out and yells for Lucas. The two of them start hauling tail out of town with the bounty hunters right on their heels. After riding for a bit, Harlan realizes he can't keep this up much longer because of his injuries. He decides he's got to make sure Lucas gets away. Harlan stops and tells Lucas to ride straight for 50 clicks until he hits Mexico. He tells him he already set it up with Lucas's aunt to take Jacob to Mexico, where they can live a good life without the law chasing him.
You gotta go.
No!
Stay here, look after them.
Lucas won't leave his grandpa behind, but their talk gets cut short when a bounty hunter catches him. The bounty hunter shoots Lucas and tells Harlan to drop the gun. To keep his grandson from getting hurt worse, Harlan tosses his piece. Before the bounty hunter can do anything else, the sheriff shows up and tells the hunter to back off. The bounty hunter won't listen and tries to shoot, and it ends with the hunter getting killed. Harlan then goes to the sheriff and offers him a deal. He says he'll surrender and go back to town to face the music, as long as the sheriff lets Lucas go free. The sheriff goes for it, but Lucas is still fighting it, not wanting to leave Harlan.
I want you to ride south a day to Missoula.
Can't.
Yes, you can. A man chooses who he is.
Harlan tells Lucas he's just a guest for a few days anyway and he wants his death to finally mean something for his family. After one last hug, Lucas heads for Mexico while Harlan goes back with the sheriff. Even though he's sick, Harlan eventually gets hanged in town for his old crimes. Down in Mexico, Lucas meets up with his aunt and his little brother, Jacob. He introduces himself as Lucas Rust, honoring the man who saved his life. The two brothers are finally safe to start over, and Lucas keeps everything his grandpa taught him about survival and sacrifice.